this camera.
Okay, you want to give me the, okay, the palva. Ready? Good afternoon. Welcome to the City of Arts Virtual Music Symposium. This symposium is brought to you by LEAP, Linking Everyday Extraordinary People, in the Key of G, Everett's Natural Beauty School and Salon, Hug Detroit Day, Aduni's Event Planning Bootcamp Academy, and in Bayou, it's not business as usual. Today's topics are venues, clubs, and social media. Our professional business panelists for this afternoon are Amanda Jackson, Njia Kai, Bert Deering, Tylene Henry, Shahida Mausi, and your moderator for this afternoon is Ron Hamilton. So sit back, relax, learn, and enjoy. Ron, it's all yours.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Music Symposium. I'm Ron Hamilton. I'm the moderator today, and I thank you for joining us. And I have the lovely panel here of ladies. Got Tylene Henry. How you doing? All right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We have Amanda Jackson.
Hi, Ron. How are you? How's everybody doing today?
All right, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Right, and Njia. How you doing, Njia?
Peace. I'm well. Hope all of you are well too.
Okay. All right. So today we're discussing music venues, concert halls. So the questions are, with the lockdown going on, and you might as well say that life is somewhat returning to normal. So how do you think we should jumpstart this as far as the clubs and the venues?
That's a good question.
Well, I'll jump in and say that most of what I do, especially within the last few years, has been outdoor events.
Right.
Most of them are outdoor. We do a lot of events in the downtown parks in the Midtown neighborhood. And we have actually continued to do some events as the state policies have allowed since last summer. So it's a little different outdoors. There's a little less threat outdoors. People are a little more willing to gather outdoors. And we've just been really focused on observing all of the safety protocols, the distancing, the sanitizing. There's additional cleanup crew. There are capacity limits on the amount of people within any given space. We've stopped some of the hands-on activities that would cause people to share items or to be in too close proximity. Okay. And we've had quite a bit of success with those events. I think there's a population that wants to be outside. But yeah. I will say the last event we did was also live streamed because we got responses from people who said they really wanted to be able to enjoy the event, but were not secure enough to come on site.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Anyone want to answer that question?
You know, I'm totally speaking out of turn, and I say that because first, it's an honor and a privilege to be here. This has just been an incredible experience, and I'm truly appreciative of Miss Sheila and Phil Hale for providing me with an opportunity to be here and to be a part of this awesome event. I truly enjoyed myself. I went for the first time to Baker's Keyboard Lounge on Saturday evening. I'd never been there. I've been in Metro Detroit my entire life, and there'd been a couple of times where I went to go, but it was like jam-packed. But I don't think I would have appreciated it as much as I did when I went on Saturday. And so there's something about just the atmosphere and being able to feel the music. And so I think that people, are excited to go back, but I hope that we will continue to provide the opportunity for access to things virtually as well, because it really gives people that opportunity that may not be in the same state or be nearby to jam and groove and experience music that may be happening in different places. But I love the outdoor events. I remember being a child going to Shane Park to the Jazz Fest with my parents, and just that experience at that time when it was Shane Park before it became the Aretha Amphitheater. So I'm just excited to start seeing these events to come. And I really feel safer outdoors anyway. And I just love being outside. So I'm excited to see the events begin to come. And from what I have heard recently, Jazz on the Ave on Livernois is going to happen this year. So I'm excited.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
I attended that. Yeah, I actually did an event like 4 years ago. That's great. That's great. So we're talking about the live entertainment venue. It's a good idea, like I said, social distancing, especially having events outside as well. So my purpose of my radio network, is that jazz is missing here badly as far as a radio medium, and that's the reason why WRJR was created, because I want to bring back something to Detroit, that was rooted here, the foundation. So as far as that goes, what do you think that we need to do as a community in Detroit to get together and bring the tradition back as far as jazz goes?
Can I mention one little thing real quick, just touching on what you previously were saying really quickly?
Go ahead.
You mentioned about venues and clubs, and one of the things that I saw, especially since I deal with a lot with digital marketing and social media, is the emergence of live streaming and people utilizing platforms like Twitch, which was more of a gamer platform, and people integrating things like tip jars and live streaming using Facebook Live and Instagram Live and YouTube Live. And as Tylene, she's on the tech end of everything, and she's very vast in that, restreaming different platforms and different things like that. So I've seen a lot of people do that here in California, whereas a lot of people were really used to utilizing venues and clubs. And so out here, we didn't really have a lot of, outdoor events. We've had some things at the vineyards now that are coming back. The Blue Note in Napa, they're doing some things with the vineyards so people can be outside, like Brian McKnight. He'll be doing a tour out here and different things like that. But a lot of the independent artists out here have really grasped on to the live streaming aspect. And I did a event with STLR Entertainment out here in California. And so we did a live stream, a concert that went really well. So I've seen people utilize more of the live streaming for venues and clubs and change that for their own personal, platforms. So I just wanted to add that part when you were mentioning venues and clubs.
Yeah.
I think you're correct too, Amanda, that the hybrid is going to continue into the future until AI fully takes over.
Right.
But I think for the next decade or so, the hybrid is going to exist. I know the Carr Center had some tremendous success with some of the concerts that they've done, which have mostly been in the jazz idiom. And they were really pleased because they've had people from all over the world now tune in to shows that otherwise would have just had, with the capacities, just had a couple hundred people here in Detroit. But now they have spread their music and their message across the entire world. So I don't think anybody's going to give that up. I think that, Ty is going to come into demand around here because people are going to need technicians to do what we have a specialty of doing in person.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I was sharing before about Bakers and, the award that they received of $40,000. And one of the things that I just pray that as clubs, as we go back out into the or into the clubs and venues and things like that, like that money that they get, I pray that they will think forward and like put cameras in there and create their stage. Like they have a black curtain now, so when you video, the people come out blue and things like that. I'm praying that they will make
invest
a conscious effort to make sure that everything can be videoed. We can be at Baker's every night, every time that they do something, it is live streamed. It is always live streamed. So if you can't go there physically, and actually, if you see it, then you'll want to go there physically.
right.
You know, and especially as they see that food going past, you know, the stage,
Yes.
that they would, you know, make a difference, you know, that they'll keep that in mind and make sure that it's quality. And so same with all the other clubs. Now, there were some clubs downtown years ago that was live streaming before it actually, you know, became, these past 2 years, if you was going to be out there, you had to be online, and everybody has had to learn how to do that. And that was one of the things that I liked about Ty's class, is she's going to teach you how to not just depend on her, but now your organization can do it, and everybody be savvy about what they're doing. So I love the educational piece that you add, Ty, to making sure everybody, and I had the comments of, let me tell you, I had the comments of, I do that all the time, I'm so tired of Zoom and blah, 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 blah. And they were the very people that we had to have issues with when they came in, because they would not show up at rehearsal. The very ones, I'm telling you, I could name them.
It's always the same.
And then they have problems. Well, I've never had problems before. Well, that's why we said come to rehearsal, so you'll know what you're doing and feel comfortable with it. But it's a new dawn, it's a new day, and whether we like it or not, and it actually now, if I'm performing, I can tell my cousin in California, you can check us out, you know, where you couldn't before. So it is a new dawn, and it's a new day, and we better just go ahead and feel good, you know, about it, because our reach is far, is much farther than it was before. So as far as going to the club, you know, my husband, Phil Hale, you know, y'all know, I know Njia, and Ron, you know Phil, don't you know Phil Hale?
Yeah, I know Phil.
Yeah. So, you know, his whole life is music. And, you know, it was just only so much he could do going down in the basement and playing with the music and playing with the song. He does that anyway, even when he was in the clubs. His downtime would be playing different music with different styles, and put it on and just play all night long till he falls out or falls off the chair, one or the other. So, but, you know, he was missing the interaction with the audience, and the interaction definitely with other musicians. Now, that being said, now, speaking of the social platforms, they are coming out with like Jam Kazam. I think Billy talked about SoundScan, and where all of us can have rehearsal together, and we all hear it at the same time. So different needs have come forth. And there are people all over the world who are making sure that they got something to make it happen. So I'm happy. I'm really happy about that.
Absolutely. I mean, because this pandemic has really, you know, everybody had to think outside the box. You know, and come up with new ways to stay in communication. But as a performer myself, it's a great thing, you know, to have the internet, but there is no feeling that you can't never compare the feeling. I'm sure you can agree with me, Sheila. There is no feeling of being there live.
Right.
You know, soaking up that energy live.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, it really has definitely made a game changer. But at the same time, you know, one thing I say about the social media is that it's you know, internet is isolate a lot of people. You know, so the thing is, you know, what can we do to? I mean, what do you think should be done as far as the music community? You know, like stay in contact with them. You know, what do you think we should do to improve on that? Because people feel isolated. A lot of
I
people
think
do.
I
Oh,
think
go ahead,
what
Kai.
I think what Sheila is doing is just that.
Yeah,
So, you know, she's really spearheaded bringing folks together.
yeah,
And I think that's the really critical component, is just to get people, you know, back in the groove, back in connection with one another. And you mentioned earlier, you know, how do you bring jazz back? And I'm not a musician or an expert. I used to play the clarinet back in the day,
Hey.
but only till middle school. So but I will say, in saying that I think we really do have to advocate to get more young folks involved with music, because a lot of the schools don't have music programs anymore. And we really have to advocate for that, because I think it's more, music does more for our youth with their development, I think, than we know. The brain function and just being able to communicate and express themselves.
yeah,
And so I don't know what the solution is, but I know that we have to raise our voices louder,
right.
so that our students can get access to music education, because I think that's lacking. And with all different industries, sometimes there's like a gap. You get all these great folks doing great things, but the next generation doesn't necessarily get that grooming and that experience to really know about real music and what musicianship is. Sometimes all they see is Instagram, all they hear is this auto tune, and this
Yeah,
concept of real music is like, oh, we don't need to hire somebody, we can just, you know, it's not the same.
it's
And
not.
so just really making sure that our youth get exposed to that and putting those instruments in their hands. And I know over the course of the week, we had several second and third generation musicians. And so just to continue that and make sure that we are, you know, bringing our young people into this environment and making sure they get exposed to it, so they can carry the torch.
Okay.
And I wanted to add to that. I think that the pandemic has caused us to even be more communicative, like
Yeah.
with emails and even calling people. I remember texting people a lot and instant messaging. And now, like, we're picking up phones, checking on each other, checking on our strong friends, you know, close and far. And I think that's extremely important. And the positive aspect that I've seen from this pandemic is even on an economic status where people are, you know, people that I saw that before the pandemic were afraid to get on live. They're now on live and they're, you know, playing every, you know, week with a weekly schedule, and they're on platforms like Bandcamp. And Bandcamp has done an amazing job this pandemic with allowing artists to have 100% of their, you know, 100% of their payments that they're getting once a month. And so that's been huge. So platforms like that actually helping artists economically. And I want to shout out a couple of Detroit artists, young artists that are doing their thing online. Trinino Lowe, he's been amazing. I've seen him even excel online, and even Ian Finkelstein. He does a live usually once a week or a couple times a month on Instagram live. So just seeing these young artists, you know, that have been prominent in the jazz industry in Detroit, and they're getting out there and putting their music out. I just really commend them. And also platforms like this that allow people to talk about these topics. I think it's, you know, I'm here in California, we can all, you know, come together, different time zones, and we can still create, you know, this amazing environment where we can all communicate. So I think it's great. So Ryan, I do feel like it's bringing us together.
Yeah,
I know
that's good.
the isolation is real.
Right.
But I think that's where, like Sheila was talking about, you know, those apps that allow us to create music together and vibe together. You know, I know even in the music industry, when artists can't record in the studio together, they're still, before this, they were sending tracks to each other. And, you know, one artist is on tour, somebody else is off tour, and they still learn, you know, how to like create music and feature on different people's tracks and still put out that music. So I think it's just that on this level is just expanded, you know, to virtual. So, you know, we here for you, Ron. If you feel, you know, isolated, reach out.
I
And I
think
know Ron, we go way back. Ron has been so prominent in helping independent artists put their music on his platform with R&B music and jazz music. He's put some artists that I've worked with in the past into rotation, like Jay Kennedy, who's worked with David Murray and Charles Prophet. You've done an amazing job. And now you have 2 syndicated shows on your network with Cheryl Underwood and Will Downing. So Ron is doing a thing over there. So anybody listen to this live, like, please connect with him and Tylene and everybody that's on this platform today. They're all amazing people doing amazing things.
Yeah, I think one of the other things is that jazz, which is one of the purposes of City of Arts, of us being able to work together, that we need to do more promotion about jazz, just straight up advertisements, just straight up what,
Right.
you know how you create the donut and then you put something different in that donut and just send it out there. The importance of jazz are little stories or bits of history. Sky Covington has a, what's the name of her show?
The group?
No, Sky show about jazz.
Got me beat.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I'll remember it in a minute.
It's the satin dog.
The preservation of jazz. Right, preservation of jazz.
Oh,
Yeah, and so a lot more of those, since more people who you would never have seen doing shows are now doing shows, now that they found out it's almost free to do it. Anybody can create a podcast now.
Right.
So, putting that out there and just putting not only the music, but some history, just throwing some nuggets out there about jazz and about other things, whatever, about music, about dance, about art. Just keep it out there in the face of people. I think that would be, one of the good things that all of us are coming together, like that. Yeah, I know we're excited about. Okay, so here's the other thing is that like last summer when we thought everything was chilling down, then it came back up. But everybody was so excited about just being able to go outside and enjoy concerts and enjoy the music, even though we would stay away from each other and honor the distance and have our mask on. Boy, was it nice to be able to look at everybody and see their whole body, see their hug each other and things like that. So, but it's as it relates to jazz or anything else, we just have to keep the word out there about it and educate about it. And then I wanted to add that this week was a perfect, and I didn't have time to really promote that part, but every music school, every music class, the teachers should have been, and should have been as this should have been a field trip for students, that you log on and you take notes and you get tested, because you had the masters. We have masters who do what they do. So knowing how to promote it better, in all the different events that we do, knowing how to get to different, think outside the box and get a different audience, not just depend on the same audience of people all the time, because we are unlimited with this with the internet. And so you're doing live, but you're sharing it with the world.
And there's also, like you mentioned, keeping jazz alive. I know in LA, there's an event that they do often called Jazz is Dead. And it's really a play on words, because they have people like, different people from the jazz community within hip hop that help bring light to jazz, as well as like Robert Glasper. He'll do like different hip hop sets with jazz. So like you mentioned, there in Detroit, they've been doing a lot of things. And then here in California, there have been a lot of jazz artists here on live. And then now a couple of them are starting to go back into the clubs, but the clubs have limited capacity. Yeah. So you have to reserve and stuff. But like, it's still nice that people are doing that. And I think one of the ways that marketing wise, outside of, being on Facebook or Instagram is, there's one simple component that I don't really see a lot of people partake in as artists, which is newsletters. I know it's like an old thing, but e-newsletters are, so relevant because they're in your inbox. People can go to it. They can get information. You can put whatever you want, make it your own platform, whether you're selling your products or talking about, like you mentioned, have a segment in there about jazz history and then talk about yourself and your shows. So I think those newsletters are never going to go away, and having people opt in through social media or even with the QR codes, and they can scan a QR code and they can sign up for your newsletter. So, for people who are still trying to get the word out there about what they do, still, newsletters are so important.
Well, I've been doing a newsletter, The Key of
Yes, you
G,
have.
for years.
Yes.
And illness had me stop doing it when I was ill. But I also do the Key of G Jazz Break, which is a jazz podcast. And I basically had been focusing on Detroit artists when they come out with things and talk about them. But at the end of my podcast, I always would play a classic, maybe something from Freddie Cole or Andy Bay, and talk about who these jazz icons are that people sometimes don't really emulate, but you can hear their styles in other younger performers that are coming up. And I guess I had stopped doing my podcast because I wasn't finding any music that was to my taste, that if they go into the studio and everything is recorded, that there weren't any real musicians, and I can hear that. And I asked a question to a young man that did his whole project by himself on his computer. I said, well, does that make you a musician or a computer tech? And he said he didn't know, because he doesn't play an instrument. Everything is on his computer.
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, that's the way, the direction that music is going in. Because now anybody can get, pre-made beats and pre-made progressions and stuff, now. So, and they think they're a musician or a producer.
Yeah, which made it really good for me to see the keyboard players and the bass players when they were on here. It didn't matter if there was an audience. These guys needed to talk to each other.
Right.
They needed to share what they've been doing. Yes, I have followed your career and I appreciate you. Yeah, and when you played this was great. These guys needed this platform for sharing and for complimenting each other, because they haven't had the chance to do that if you're constantly busy and on the road and creating. And Sheila, this was really great to bring these really, really sought after entertainers into a room where they could love on each other.
Mhm. Yeah.
I can tell you right off the bat, it was a love fest.
Yes, it definitely was. It definitely was.
That's why I think it's so important to look at the hybrid of the live and the virtual as we move forward. Because there are certainly benefits to the virtual that we have learned over this crazy, in a year and a half now or something. It's really caused us to have to get into a technology, whether we were, going in with excitement or going in kicking and screaming, as maybe some old school folks were. I don't know any of them.
Yep. 7 years, it took me 7 years to get a computer.
Wow. It's so funny because, I've lived through a lot of the changes. I remember back in the day when artists used to send me cassette tapes.
Yeah.
And I remember when that went to disc, CDs, and then it went to a link. I remember when I used to have to call everybody, and then I had to email everybody, and now I have to text everybody.
Right.
And so, the technologies continue to develop. That's just the realities of the world we're in, and the fact that, people are innovative and creative, and they're going to continue to push those limits.
Mhm.
So that's going to happen. But I plan to and stand on the notion that we still need human contact.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so as much as we can do live, I'm going for that.
Mhm.
And then what we can also do virtual, I'm willing to support and include that.
Right.
But I really think that it has a lot to do with the individual. I know one day, I can't remember which song it was that came on the radio, but it was either some old R&B or some old jazz. I don't remember which. And my kids were in the car, who are now young adults, and they started singing along. I said, "How do you know that song?"
Uh-huh.
They said, "That's all you've been playing since you were born."
Right.
So that's what I put the onus on us, that we have to, what we love, what we treasure, we have to make sure that it is carried forward. And if we don't give it to the young people, it won't go forward. Sheila mentioned that I've worked with the African World Festival for a lot of years. I directed it for the last 12 years. Well, now there's a new production company who are taking it on and moving it forward. It's scheduled to happen again this August. And so people are hitting me up like, what? And I'm like, no. We had a great run. I'm so blessed with the opportunities I've had to really spearhead and make sure that it continued and moved on. But it's time for a new iteration, time for a new generation,
Right.
bringing in those ideas and moving it forward. I plan to attend in whatever, whether it's live or virtual, I plan to attend and support it because it's the thing that needs to move forward.
Mhm.
And we have to stand for our institutions. However, in the meantime, I also plan to continue developing some live events and
Mhm.
activities. And when the young people, I do a lot with young people, and when they come in my space, they get a lot of R&B and they get a lot of jazz. And,
right.
because I know that if I don't play it, they may not get it.
Right.
And so I give it to them, and then they share their music with me. And if they hadn't shared it with me, there's a whole lot of new stuff I would not have even known existed.
Yeah.
So it is that interchange. When Ty said she made her first trip to Baker's, then that's exciting to me because that means we've permeated into a new generation.
Right.
And we're getting them to come forward. And so, there's millions of people on this planet, billions. So, we just have, the world is our oyster, and we just have to keep looking for opportunities. Like Herbie Hancock. Everybody was ticked off with Herbie Hancock. He was a straight up jazz man, and he started doing all the electronic stuff.
Right.
Yet Herbie was the avant-garde for what was coming.
Yeah.
And Miles Davis too.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
And I think there's a place for everything. I just think it's so important that our youth get exposed to the foundation, the musical instruments, the sounds. It's one thing to create some music on a computer, and I won't say that that's not music because it is music, right? But it's not, it's not the skill and the talent that it takes to build that craft over time. And so I think it's just a different iteration, but I think that it needs to be built upon the foundation of what the real thing is, right? It can't be that kids don't know that it was a real instrument that created that sound, right? Like have no exposure to it. And I think another awesome thing about what you've done here, Sheila, is that you haven't only just talked about the music, but you've talked about all the components. We have to be well-rounded.
Yeah.
We can't just look at one piece. You've talked about the importance of the business aspect and having that in place, securing your if it's copywriting or whatever you got to do to protect your music to make sure that someone else can't come and say that it's theirs, making sure that you're taking care of the financial components and the accounting, the marketing. Everything that you've brought forth this week and continue to bring forth this week are critical components to the sustainability because it takes money. It's good to just do something that we enjoy doing because we like to do it. But in order for us to have well-being, we have to have the finances too. And so helping, folks understand. And I think a lot of young people, it's kind of like this age of you've got to get money, you've got to do this, you got to do that. And it's like, you can make money doing things that you love. You just have to have the right guidance. You have to have the right mentorship and leadership. And you can make money painting pictures. You can make money playing a clarinet. You can make money catching butterflies. But you just have to have, you know, the guidance and the support and the expertise in the different areas to make sure that you do that. And I feel like you've done a great job of bringing forth people to really not just say that it needs to be done, but really give people somewhat of a blueprint of the things that they need to be aware of in order to have a sustainable and successful career in this space.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about, you know, creating your team. What do you need for your team? And excuse me. And as we are getting older and more mature, we have to call on these young people. Like Njia said, we call on the young people because they're going to bring the new stuff to the table. And then we have the seasoned part of now, okay, so I'm a jazz vocalist. So how can I put this out? And then here's your 3-year-old coming and saying, here, grandma, bam, 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 bam. And,
Right.
and you're out there. So we have to, you know, include them in what we're doing. And like you said, Ty, we got to educate them, pull them along, and also walk with them, and not down what they're doing, but guide them in we may not know the proper way because we don't know that technology, but we would know what is what feeds the people and things like that, what will encourage people. And I remember when my son, he was in the hip hop back in the day, in that world, and all the cussing and the bees and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's what people want to hear. I said, you know, people want to hear something positive that would cause them to rethink things just as much as those. So what audience are you going after? And is that who you really want to hang with, you know, for your maturity? Of course, he's older now, you know, and now he can see it. Because once you start having children, you start thinking different, you know, and especially when you start having little girls, you don't want them to be called bees and stuff like that. So you begin to think a little bit different, you know, around that. But we're needed to make that stand of what's proper and what's not proper. And especially those that are, you know, like Njia, you're very well-rounded, grounded in our culture, you know, and to make sure that is very much alive. Well, we got to do that with our young people as they begin to write, and with the girls, when they're out there hoochie mama and stuff, we can tell them that they are beautiful without all of that, where they're not feeling that. So, and I think jazz in particular, or of course gospel, where there's kind of standards, but jazz brings about a more mature way of looking at life. Yeah, our cultural songs are more what's the word I want to use? Well, they guide us more. You're not going to be out there talking about, you know, your culture and half dressed like that. You know, there's some standards in that, and where we get to be examples.
You know, when we talked about sustainability in this market, and we were talking about how did some of these artists become sustained in this industry? You never saw Nancy Wilson with something that was inappropriate on stage, you know, and from there you go down, you look, you never saw Anita Baker inappropriately dressed on stage, you know, so they have sustainability. You will listen to their music from now on, because there was something universally acceptable about what they were doing, how they presented themselves. You know, you would hear young people knew who Nancy Wilson was because she set a standard. But there is some music out there that I don't think anybody in 10 years will say, wow, I should have put a ring on it. That's my jam. Do you really want to hear that? You know, has that kind of music with the rope shaking and cussing people out, and you got to be this chick from the hood. Is that going to be sustainable?
Mm.
I do need to defend that Beyonce song for a minute.
I know.
Now, I will say it got a lot of young women saying, "Hey, if you don't want to put a ring on it, then don't come this way."
Yeah,
So
the
I will
premise
say
of
that.
it was good. The premise of it was good. No, but on the oldies but goodies. Well, and I guess because I'm coming from the standpoint of being 65,
No,
what
I
I've
understand,
been
right?
through and
Right.
what the music represents to me.
Exactly.
But you
Mhm,
said it
mhm.
though, sustainability. You know, a lot of these artists now, they have SoundCloud, all these platforms that are available to them. And it's not even about longevity in music. It's about getting what you can get now and getting
Yeah.
out, you know, because they know that,
Mhm.
you know, they know it in them, you know, it's sad that, you know, everybody, it's like the microwave. Everybody wants it now. You know what I'm saying? You can't cook it, you can't put everything in a microwave though. You know what I'm saying?
But it's capitalism.
Right, exactly.
You know, it's outside forces outside of our community that have manipulated the healing power of music, because
Right.
you had a panel talking about that earlier this week. Music can be healing, and you know, it's it's good for our soul. And I feel that when the folks that have and I hate to say they, but when the capitalistic folks come in, that 2 or 3% at the top, you know, they want to capitalize on on our talents and abilities, and they also want to manipulate and control our children.
Exactly.
And so music, you know, they throw money at the music that is going to put them in a direction that's going to have them focused on buying things and consumerism and being consumers, and I gotta have this car, I gotta flash this money. And so you're focused on things that are not what we need to be focusing on as youth, which is really identifying who we are, self-confidence, understanding where we came from, understanding that our current circumstances does not dictate who we are and what we can accomplish and what God put us here to do, that we can only do. And that value. And so it has us kind of, it's like wag the dog. It's got us focused in another direction as opposed to seeing what our true talents and abilities are. We've told these young girls, society has told these young girls that, you know, going out here, getting your butt done, you know, getting an OnlyFans page, that's the way to be a star, as opposed to really understanding that your talents and abilities have nothing to do with all these external factors. So I think it's up to us to grab our children and take a hold of that narrative, because I mean, I love Beyonce. You know, I don't dislike Megan Thee Stallion. And, you know, I know a lot of the other school moms will be like, oh, she said you know, they're doing their thing and they're making their money the best way that they know how. It's up to us to raise our children. And so I think we've got to expose them. That's how I heard, you know, Frankie Beverly and Mays and Anita Baker and all of that was growing up. That's what I heard my parents listening to.
But to see to get there, one thing they lack is discipline. You know what I'm saying? You got to be good at whatever you do, at whatever you want to be good at. You have to discipline yourself. You know what I'm saying? You have to work at it, you know, and it's coming, you know, like you said, capitalism is making it easier for them now to get there, you know, where we had to work for it, you know.
You know, there's always that tension between the generations.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I thought my parents were, you know, just naive country people who had moved to Detroit, and we needed to hip them because they weren't.
Right. We know.
And every time I say hip, my son says, "Yeah, that dates you, Mom." But that was the deal. But I just want to say this: that, you know, 2 things I want to say. One is that I was told in a workshop years ago, and I just keep using it. She said, you know, Earth is like a smorgasbord, a big buffet. She said, when you go to a buffet, you don't be mad if they have tables and tables, and on this table, there's all the meats and all the fish and all the tofu and all the salad and dessert. You don't be mad because you get to pick up your plate and you move through and you pick what you want. You even get to go back and get more. So the fact that I'm vegetarian, I'm not mad at the people who went to the meat plate, you know, table. I'm not mad at them. So Earth is like that. You have to make those choices.
Yeah.
I made choices in my career. I chose almost everything I do is with nonprofit organizations. There are other people who promote and program and curate like I do, who specifically do it with commercial entities,
Yeah.
or who specifically do it with corporate entities.
Right.
I'm not mad at them because of what they do. I'm not mad at them because they're successful. It's kind of like being Bill Russell and LeBron James. Bill Russell was a hell of a basketball player back in the 60s and 70s of his time. But he was only making $20,000 and LeBron is making 20 million. And it's just that the evolution of time has set it up like that.
Yeah.
So I purposely have chosen to stay within what I consider the cultural arts, because that's what speaks to me, and that's where I'm interested to put my energies and to, you know, spend most of my time and focus. But I allow the world to be the world. I definitely do, however, run youth programs. I introduce those young people to what I consider the fundamentals, so that as they move out into the world, they can make those comparisons. They can have, they have knowledge of, like the sister said, what a real saxophone sounds like when it blows its note, the difference between that and what they'll hear when they hit that button on that computer. So I think they should have that background, but I go to their concerts and celebrate them. Also on the side, give them notes like, hey, I think you should have had a live drummer and not that machine. But I support them because I'm trying to encourage them to grow towards what I'm thinking I prefer and suggest as a preference, while still allowing them to explore their world and their generation's realities. And they'll, as Sheila said, when you start having children, as you mature, as you learn, as you see the world, you start seeing the play that's out here. You see what's going on that's all money focused, not human focused, not humanity focused, not development focused.
Yeah.
You know, you start making those decisions, and you know, you have your choices. Luckily for me, there is a niche that allows me to focus where I want to focus. And so that's what I do. And I don't lambast the children, but like Giselle said, you know, we would sponsor African drum and dance classes.
Right.
And there would be young women who would come. Now, usually, you know, they call it a lapa, that fabric that's wrapped around your waist like a skirt. They call it a lapa. So usually those in the know show up with their fabric and wrap that lapa. But there's these young sisters that come with these tight jeans and they jump out there. So we kept a basket of lapas on the side so that when they came, we could show them how to fit in and be right. And they loved it because it brought them in.
Right.
And so I'm just saying, these are things we have to do as a community. We know we don't control most of the festivals that focus on our culture and our arts. And so we have to do those things we can along the sides to bring our own traditions, our own mores, our own perspectives and values into these various settings and to impact on our youth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's really important, you know, especially these, you know, grabbing these kids, you know, let them know, you know, because a lot of them, you know what I'm saying? It's just gotta. A lot of them don't understand the culture, you know, and it's sad, and it's like they just going willy-nilly everywhere, you know. So yeah, when you can actually bring kids in, that's a good thing, you know. So kudos to you, and
I have a question
for the festivals and everything. Go ahead.
I have a question. Now, I've heard you talk about things that are cultural, and I know Njia talks all the time about our culture. What do we bring to the table? Okay, so we here on this panel right now, we have different age groups represented, and I think it's awesome, you know, from where Tylene is coming from. And yes, Amanda, straighten me out about Beyonce.
I'm just saying.
Okay, but you know, to have these things work together, what would be comparable to a Beyonce that you could introduce young people to? You know,
I mean, I love a Dinah Washington, you know, I love Ella Fitzgerald. I've listened to those. And even you can tell that Beyonce in some of her earlier videos, she was influenced by some of these women with her, you know, hairstyles and the way she dressed too. So and not to interrupt what you were saying, but I do think that we're all a result of something else. You know, you mentioned the clothing. I can remember going shopping as a teenager. I could get Levi's, and now I can't even fit into the Levi's. So I go with the skinny jeans that I can fit. So it's like the options as well. And capitalism has been there since, you know, people like, you know, you saw the movie United States versus Billie Holiday. She was getting ripped off. And the one with Viola Davis, she was getting ripped off. And, you know, and these people wanted to expose them and capitalize on them. And I think that's been around for centuries, unfortunately. So, you know, platforms like this allow people to empower themselves with the panels that you had about, you know, different instrumentation and licensing and, you know, contracts. And I think these situations are powerful because you can speak your truth and expertise, and somebody young listening to this could say, okay, I need to go get that live horn or now guitar, because I think she made a good point, you know, or I need to get that contract and get me a manager or get me marketing or that type of thing. So I think it's all a play on each other. And I think that the more we're present and able to expose, like you said, and what you do in your field to these young people. And I can also see a City of Arts, you know, like a 2.0 with, you know, a panel where we have even more various age groups. So some of these young kids can, you know, like the other night I was listening to some of the guys talk about bass and upright bass. And I'm sitting there like, upright bass, and where is this and that? Not, you know, I had never heard people talk like that, but it was great. So I just think more of this is going to help, you know.
yes.
Yeah, this needs to happen, and this needs to happen more often, though. It does. This is a great symposium. The whole thing is wonderful. You know, and this needs to happen more often than just once a year.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that when you were talking about jazz, when I think about, because, you know, with my son, I would be telling him and Philip, I think that like if we create more opportunities for rappers, let's say rappers, to come into a jazz set and just out of let's see what we can create with this. We're going to do some jazz and then just come on in with what your rap is. And then we begin to show how it's a different rhythm. It's not that hard beat and stuff, and how you can still flow with that.
It's still similar though. It's bebop. You know, that's all it is bebop.
Right.
Yeah. So included in their lives as they're creating, how they can do things with that. Sawande was on the other day. He really gave high praise to his father and his mom about how they raised him, and as a baby, when he was able to walk, they strapped a
shaker
they strapped it on him as part of his life, you know. But we give more of those opportunities, and not think that what you're doing, like Njia said, not this is it, you know, but you're open to what they bring to the table as well, because it's new. And there are some people, because when I think about, you know, Philip and I, we wrote 6 songs, of which we are going to be featured Friday night during 9 to 10. It's going to be our music. All and right. What was I saying? Oh, so there are people who they have mastered. So Philip did all the music through his keyboard, but now the challenge is finding who can play what he did.
Yeah, that happened.
And that's the same thing with people who do everything by the machine. How are you going to do a live show? Yeah. You know, you still have to find people that can actually play it like what you played, but they're not going to do something different that would throw the song and take it into a whole different sound. And yeah, so we all just need each other. We have to learn what the new technology is, so that when we have to, or we get in the situation that we've been in the last year and a half, especially when we were deep in it, then we have another source and another avenue to learn about, and another way to put you and express yourself, because it was what it was. We could not go anywhere. We could not, matter of fact, I was praying for people who were in situations, not only those who were like by themselves and couldn't touch nobody or talk to nobody because they living by themselves, but homes that were in midst of confusion and violence and stuff, and they couldn't go nowhere. There was no outlet. The husband couldn't leave, and and then the wife is good. I won't see him for another 8 to 10 hours, but they had to exist in the midst of one another. So I was always praying for the children that were abused all the time, and they was glad to be able to go to school because during that time they could get food, and not only that, but they wasn't being hit on or yelled at and things like that. So there was a lot of dynamics happening during this year and a half, and some were healed, some were okay. We're here. My husband Philip plays all the time. That was a period of time where he was at home where we could create those songs. I was not doing hair and busy doing other things and creating other things. We were at home, so we had the time to be with one another and create something, together. But I think we create more opportunities for the young people to jive with, and create, not just I'm listening to this group, but I actually can throw my ideas out there and teach teach the elders what's available now in the world. But no matter what is going on, somebody masters that and has taken it to a whole nother level where it would cause everyone to say, wow, and respect that. I didn't even know you could do that type of work. And when I don't remember his name, but he came on, he plays with Starkey, the group. What's that group?
Snarky Puppy.
Yeah. And the guy who when he does this thing, it's all harmony.
Yeah. I think he does a throw, if I'm correct. Was it throw singing or something, if I'm correct?
I don't know, but he can on the keys. But when he does it, the song comes out in all harmony and stuff. And he does a Stevie Wonder thing.
Oh, are you talking about with the vocoder thing in the mouth?
I don't remember if he has something in his mouth.
Okay, did it sound electronic?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's the like Roger would be doing, like Roger Zapp type of thing.
Yeah, I guess. But he made it popular when he went online and he was doing that and stuff,
Wow.
Yeah. So we just have to create. We as leaders or pioneers. Yeah, we got to make those opportunities for all of us to come together and share. It's like Drumline, the guy, the movie Drumline.
Nick Cannon.
It's so natural that he don't want to learn that stuff. He doesn't want to. And some people feel like if you put me in an educational setting, you're going to strip away my natural tendencies to play, because you're going to want me to do it this way. And I'm going to lose that. They fight and they treasure that. They protect the natural way of how it comes out naturally for them. That you, Ron?
To a degree, yeah, I am. Because the way I do my radio network, I don't listen to other stations. Because I don't want it affecting my creativity. And then my thing is, my slogan is no competition, just good music.
Yeah.
And I don't try to box my radio network like that, because then when you start competing, then you lose your originality. You lose what made you unique. I'm not concerned about getting 100% of the audience. I'm looking to get a percentage of that audience. You know what I'm saying? Because if I have to work to get the other percentage of it, then I'm changing. You know what I'm saying? The style changes just to attract them. I appeal to my audience and my audience only. So yeah.
But it's a blessing to be able to do that. To go the direction that you want to go and not have somebody telling you, oh, you got to play this and
Right.
you're not getting this rating and that rating. And I just wanted to piggyback a little bit on what Miss Njia said, you know, the culture and the ancestry. And I feel that we have something inside of us that no matter how much outside influence, it can't be stripped away from us.
Right.
When we hear that beat, when we hear that drum, it's something inside of you that is just like, you know, that's just bumping. And so it's, how do we get our young people to understand that, you know, that same way you hear that hip hop song and you want to go out here and pop collars and stuff, it's the same way you can put that energy to do anything that you want to do in a positive direction. And that it's not a requirement to have drugs and violence and sex to be the focal point or the goal. You can take that and use love to move forward everything that you want to do. And so I think it comes from our ancestors. Like it is something, especially when I when you hear that live music and you're just there at that energy, you know, we have to teach our young people how to tap into that and how to have that ear and understand that what you're hearing on the radio, it's just like it's like a knockoff. You know what I'm saying? And I think once they get exposed to that real thing, you know, they're going to be able to take it and run with it because they've got the technology experience. They know how things are at their fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, how do we do that? And so I'm excited to connect with you and Njia offline because I just know that there's got to be a way to get more of these young people engaged so they can learn about our history and drums and dance. And there's nothing, the female and male form is beautiful. And I don't think there's anything wrong with our bodies showing, but I do think that we have to have a sense of confidence, a sense of pride, and understand that it's our temple because, you know, I know that my ancestry is in Africa, and I know that people, you know, clothing and how it's worn and how bodies are adorned is very different. Everything is not sexualized.
Mm-hmm.
And so really helping to understand that it's, you know, the driving factor is not, you know, to be desirable. It's, you know, glorifying and honoring what you have and respecting it, not, you know, making it cheapening it by, you know, putting a price tag on it.
You know,
I
it's
think
all
getting
context.
to that is important.
It's all
Absolutely.
context. That's one of the things I like about African drum and dance is because when we engage elementary, middle school, and high school youth, the young men get to come in, and some of the young women too. I'm just using the generalities here. You know, they come in and they do this thing on the drums and they get in and they feel strong and they feel expressed, and it gives them an outlet to develop that part of themselves. And then the sisters come out and they get to do that thing. And you cannot tell me that African dance is not a lot of bumping and grinding. It's a lot in there.
Right.
Context. It is context, which is why we would wrap those sisters with that lapa to bring a context to what's happening. At African World Festival, we created an area called Generation Next Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
That area was so that older teens and young adults could do their thing within the context of the full festival. So we would lay down certain guidelines so that whatever was presented there did not go past our, or wasn't underneath, I guess, underneath our standards. So language and content was very important, but we would hire a 20-year-old, 20-some-year-old to be in charge, to coordinate that area. It was just about run by, it all featured these teens and young adults, because I wanted them to be aware of the fact that they were important to us. They are a part of the African world, the African family, that we trusted them to be able to bring something that would be quality, creative, artful, and they did every year. And there was lots of, one year I got fussed at for having too many young people engaged in responsible positions in the festival. And I just said, yeah, okay, we were in the middle of it. At that point, they couldn't do anything about it. And my whole story is, if we don't pass these things on, engage and recruit our young people, those things die.
Yes.
They die. Nobody wants to go to the dead thing that happened last year. People want something new, fresh, full of energy. And it's the youth that bring that. And we're here to create context. You know, when the steppers would come, I would give them an African theme. and say to the Greek organizations, look, we want you to create something that fits this so that we could put it on that stage. Well, they otherwise never would have thought to do that, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Several of them did, don't get me wrong. A lot of those groups focus on the culture. But to say that when they come out for those step-in engagements, usually that's not the focus. That's not a theme that they're given. And so it's really, to me, about context. And let me say this, I've worked for a lot of community development organizations. And so what we would be placemaking and urban development focused within all the programming that I was helping them create. And those folks coming in to build communities where they're inviting their young people to move in, where they're inviting families and young adults to come and have work, play, and live in those areas, they create context for their young people. They create venues so that their young people can hang out in the places that they want them to hang out. They make those parks. They create the dog parks so that people can meet and grow as community. They create community gardens. And there is context and opportunity created for the development of their people. And we just got to be about that for ourselves. We just have to, it's on us. I keep looking around like, who am I going to call to do what I wish to have done other than myself and those who share my values? Who else?
Right.
And I just want to add real quick, one person that's doing an amazing example of incorporating jazz and the hip hop and even just the history of jazz is Leif Erikson out of Detroit. His latest project, A Canvas of Hope, it was, he won like some Detroit Music Awards and he got a lot of press off of that. But now his son is starting to do hip hop. And it just is a transgression of, he was influenced by jazz by his dad. And then he started doing music with Buttermade Records. And then now his son, I think he's like 17 or 18, is doing hip hop. And so just seeing that progression of what you're talking about and creating context for the youth to follow, even in families, like I've seen it passed on. So yeah, this music is just an amazing cycle. So I just wanted to say that and shout out to Leif because, you know, he's from Detroit and doing amazing things. So.
Mm-hmm. And what I want to go back to Miss Beyonce. what I see is that when you start off young and you're trying to getting your foot out in there, but as you grow and mature and have children and meet other elders or people of your age that are becoming wiser, when she did the Lion King, that and she was just talking about who she was, and it made it just took on another level of appreciation, because she was speaking to everybody, but she was definitely speaking to the women and speaking to her daughter about being wonderful and knowing who you are. And I love it when they began to make those changes. And like what is her husband's name?
Jay-Z.
When Jay-Z and her, it was more Jay-Z, but then she spoke as well. When they start doing like I pray, we play that song all the time, because it's relevant. I pray. And then when he says something about, I'm a man about what I do. Whatever I put out there, whatever I got to deal with it, I'm a man about it. So there's some good music and good words that are coming forth, and all kind of ways in music. When you can put music to what you are saying and what you're doing, it just takes on a whole nother vibe, like what we were talking about with the healing of music, the healing component and power of music. If you walk in there and you walk in a festival and it's all screaming and everybody's like, I can't go down to the tech thing. It is just like it's like the sound of brass, the sound of iron, but it can be loud as far as some other music, and I can handle that. But music is it's wonderful. And this platform, the new platform that's coming out that is here, of the internet, because it's going to get deeper and it's going to be faster. And us trying to keep up with it is going to be more of a challenge. You know, right now, if you you're dealing with Tylene, she just go to here and go there and go here. And I got 2 computers that I'm working with, and then the sound thing. And I got 3 or 4 sound systems. And
you working it.
And then Philip will come up if I'm playing it and I'm playing it from there. Why are you listening to it from there? And I say, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just wanting to hear a song right quick. Well, put it on this system. It's like, oh God. One guy said, just too many buttons. But
That's what he said about the guitars, too many buttons when you're on stage.
I remember that too, that comment.
You know, I stage managed the first 4 years of the Techno Fest when it was called Movement here in Detroit. I stage managed the basement stage. So if you want to talk about loud, I mean, there was no escape. We're in a gigantic basement and everybody wanted to crank it up. It was always at the top. But what I did that for and why I enjoyed doing it is because I wanted to understand.
yeah.
I wanted to know why this music, why these choices, what are these young people doing? And so many of them are truly serious about their artistry and interested in developing careers with longevity. And I learned a lot of respect for the vast majority of the folks who were involved in that. Now, I did have to go get some professional earplugs because I almost lost my equilibrium one night, the bass crashing at me so hard. But the point being that I had to applaud these young people as I studied hip hop and techno. I had to applaud these young people because what they did was they responded to the fact that music was taken out of their schools.
Yes.
And yes, we were complaining, we were protesting, but we were not successful. The music was removed from the schools. The instruments were removed from the schools. And these young people did not have access. And so the fact that they were able to take old albums and manipulate those in order to create music, or to take computers and other devices and develop sounds and techniques for creating sounds in a musical idiom, I applaud them. I applauded them because of the fact that they were so determined to express themselves musically, to develop their artistry and creativity. I really came into grand respect of it. And again, I support that. I would bring techno and hip hop into the African World Festival. I would put it within a context.
Yes.
Therefore, what it said and what message it was projecting had to fit that context. But we were real successful in making that marriage. And
no house music at all, man.
Oh yeah, come on, bro. You know we're gonna have some house now. I really worked hard to maintain, and that's one of the things I did want to say here. Is that, where I sit, I get to oftentimes be a decider and oftentimes be an influencer.
Yes.
And so I don't sit in these rooms quietly. Everybody's gotten to know that if you want Njia, she's going to she's coming to be a professional and she's going to do her job, but she's also going to be Njia. She's going to show up with her preferences and speak from her value system.
Exactly.
I have done international festivals and brought all kinds of Lithuanian and all kind of different performers and creative people into an event. So it's not just got to be African descended.
Yeah, I want to touch back on what you were saying about DJs. I'm a DJ. I've been a DJ since '90. And it's like, it went from Technique 1200s to wax to rigs and buttons and loops and all this other stuff. You practically have to be a musician. You move from being a DJ to a musician because you're actually creating stuff on stage while you're doing your show, which is very interesting. I was like, wow. And then one time, DJs were DJs, and now they're considered artists too, recording artists too. And you see these DJs going overseas and selling out stadiums and stuff. I'm like, man, I said, really? I said, wow. Yeah. So yeah, it's, you know, and yeah, exactly. You know, I think as a DJ, DJs I've heard are more rooted into, you know, culture and the music and stuff, which is really great because, you know, that's what they play and that's what they do, you know. So yeah, it's a great thing. And I love the festival. Kudos on that. Kudos on that.
Dante, thank you.
How come you guys keep skipping over the 8-track?
Oh, it's coming back. I still got mine in my car. It's coming back.
Ty, did you say what is that?
I'm gonna pick it. I'm like, bring back the 8-track.
I'm thinking eBay. I'm like, okay, put that on eBay.
Look, I remember the 8-tracks in my grandma's basement. I remember being like,
I
where are these
remember the
big
component
tapes?
set. I remember the component set. Yeah.
All of that. I
Man,
have
that was the best thing since sliced bread was a component set.
How much did an 8-track cost?
Can't beat that.
Say how much what?
How much was the 8-track? How much did it cost when you
I think it was just a few dollars. I mean, I remember buying my very first 45, and I'm going to preface this by saying I'm 27, so don't get it twisted.
Clearly.
I turned 27. I have an anniversary of 27 every year.
Every year.
I expected 27.
Right. I'll stop at 40.
Yeah, you know, you get your 33rd degree and you're a master. So the point being that I bought my very first 45. It cost me 25 cents at Federal Department Store on Grand River at Oakland.
Oh, wow.
25 cents. My very first album that I purchased, because my family wasn't into buying music as much, but my very first album I purchased was Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, which is celebrating something this year.
50 years. Yeah.
Sure. This messes with that 27. And the thing is, though, that they had it in the window of the record shop, and they had the album. You know, it's a double open thingy thing. I forget what you call them. Opened up deal.
Yeah, double album.
And it had. They had. You know how you get those cards that you open and the flower pot will. So they had it like that. They had him standing out and the that black raincoat looking all whatever. And man, was I disappointed when I bought that album and got it home and it didn't have all that. That was just the display. That was my first time. But yeah, this, like I say, the technologies keep changing.
They keep changing.
Technologies keep changing. The thing about it is this, though. A brother told us about the science that's involved when you have a carbon-based album, you know, what used to be the black album.
33 1/3.
Yes, that was printed out, and you put a diamond-tipped needle on that album. And he was speaking to the science of the sound that is released and how that sound is not exactly recreated when you put it on a disc, or certainly not when you put it on a digital format.
Wow.
And so he was saying that we used to go home. He said he used to wonder how his parents, back 70 years ago, within all the hardships Blacks were having at that time, how did they kind of soothe themselves? And he said they would come home and they would put on those blues and R&B records. And he said that carbon and diamond would cause a sound that really was something you felt. And that it was part of the healing process of our people. So, these technologies are great, but that's why I say I'm really down with the hybrids. I have my turntable right over here, and I put on my albums and just let it go, because it's a healing. It's an actual healing, and or it can be a innovative. It can energize you. Like when you got to clean up, you put on a different set of music.
Yeah, right.
I love that record sound. It's nothing like it. Like Love and Happiness. Even when you hear that, digitally, it's a little bit different when it starts because you get a little bit more of that feel of the record sound, and you hear that tapping at the beginning. I mean, it's a feeling. It's something inside. And you said it. Come home and put that music on and just let all of that go. Let all of whatever was going on go. It's really nothing like it. And I gotta say, there is an honor and a privilege that I feel with every day I get to wake up. I'm proud. My birthday is coming up June 17th, and I'll be 39 years old.
Oh,
And some of my friends will be like, "Oh, we getting old," but like it's an honor and a privilege. Like
happy
I
early
just
birthday.
think about thank you. I think about my late grandmother, Tylene Henry, and just how she was so confident in who she was and wasn't concerned about what somebody thought about what she said, or she was authentically herself. And I think that that's something that makes good music, is authenticity.
Right.
Being able to really articulate and express yourself through music, as who you are, not just doing something because this is how we get paid. But I think there's something to the business of it. So we look at Beyonce when she came out, no, 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 and how she's progressed. And now, because she has the financial means, she can do it the way she want to do it. It's not what the record companies are going to buy. She has that control and power. And I think that's something in our community that's very important, that we take care of that business aspect, so we have control over how we're represented and what is being shown and what our kids are getting exposed to.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Media is a powerful thing, in any form, social marketing, I'm saying, music, billboards, it influences everything, and my radio network is just feel good music, it's therapy, and I like to think of my radio network, my station, my music is being therapy to me, and it really helps, because it's just, the world is just right, too tight right now, too high strung on a lot of things, but tensions are high, so yeah, it's a good thing. Like you said, you like I said, happy early birthday. That's good to know that, sisters such as yourself, are in that position to put, carry the culture on, because I think we're at a precipice right now, because we are dealing with something that we never thought would happen, with the pandemic and stuff, so we're to the point right now where we have to continue to push the music out there, and remind the younger generation where it came from and where it's going.
I'm curious with Amanda, who's someone I don't know well, and I'm just curious what you do, and wondering about, since you said you're in LA or in California, is that, since it's social media, is that something you do for folks long distance, remotely,
She's the guru.
Well, we're here in Detroit, and she did it for us.
Yeah, definitely. Kudos to Amanda. Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ron and I, we worked together on quite a few projects. I started promoting artists back in the 90s, I'll say that. And I started out with my own street team, promoting international DJs, that whole type of thing. And then I moved to Detroit. I was a marketing manager at the Detroit Science Center. And I implemented all of their social media, their YouTube, their Twitter, I was a webmaster for them for 7 years and did the email marketing. And I had to prove to them that it was, one, cost effective, and two, that Facebook was not the devil. Because the board, when you bring social media into, a lot of these companies, they're like, what is the purpose? What is it for? And so I had to prove to the board that it was cost effective and it would save money and it would increase our reach. And so from there, once they went from Detroit Science Center, there was an overhaul for a year and a half where we were basically without jobs. And they said, you can leave or you can wait and see what's going to happen. And so they were in that transition of leaving behind the Detroit Science Center name and switching over to Michigan Science Center, which I wish it was still Detroit Science Center. But I wound up I said, you know what, I don't want the control of my destiny to be in someone else's hands, waiting. And when they say, oh, you can go back to work now, I was like, nope, I'm going to take what I've been doing here and I'm going to start a business. And so I started doing social media marketing around 2010. And I worked with people from Louisiana to Detroit to California to Barbados to Bermuda to all over the world. And it's been an amazing experience. My preference is working with entrepreneurs and creatives and nonprofits of color, because I feel that digitally we are behind and there is a digital divide. And I feel that, I've been on Clubhouse lately, and with Clubhouse, there are all these influencers and leaders in these different industries. And a lot of times you don't see a lot of us in that capacity. I've gone to, Google events out here in California and Twitter and Square and all these other ones. And there is a speck of us, in a room of, a conference of 80,000 people. And so you, instead of feeling inferior, you show up to represent, right? And so for me, it became more, it was a social media business that I started at first, but now it became more of a, let me equip entrepreneurs and artists with the skills to, compete online, because it is a competition. Who can see you? Who can hear you? It's about downloads and streams and being visible and being educated. So like with what Sheila's doing and Tylene, what they're doing, it's still a competition, and so you can't compete if you're not equipped. And so for me, that's become more of what I do now outside of just the services that I offer with social media marketing. It's become more of content, creating content, incorporating email marketing, and then also that, that aspect of teaching tutorials and lessons and things like that. And then I was able to fly back in 2019, and I was a featured speaker at Detroit Startup Week, where I focus on digital marketing. And so for me now, I said, let me take it one step further and take my business, the education component, and make it into a nonprofit. Because you have people, and I hate to say it, but there are people who don't know how to attach a picture to an email still. Like I just did a tutorial on that for an organization, or they'll hire me to say, can you show our artists, how to create a link tree for their Instagram, and there are these basic things and tools, but if you don't know how to use them, you can't be competitive. So that to me has become my main mission. We can post on, Twitter or Facebook, we can upload a video, but how do you share it? What's your reach? Who's your target market? How do you recreate that? How do you, get replays and remarket yourself? So these are all things where, people, they would tell me, I get a client, they say, oh, I do social media. I can post and this and that. And I say, you sure? Because it's one thing with, posting, but it's like, what is your purpose when you post? Of course, then you have, then you have the Facebook. That's one platform, as we see that. Then there's Instagram. Then there's the LinkedIn. Then there's Twitter. It's on it. But you know what? I've been blessed to say that I've seen people get sales. I know people that are making 6-7 figures off of being on social media and having an amazing email marketing list. And I'm not talking about a list of like 10,000 people. I'm talking about a list of like, 1,000 people, 2,000 people. So if you can make 6 figures off of that small of a email list, then that means that, there is room for commerce and control of what you do. So to answer your question, I do social media marketing, but I like to take it a step further to educate.
The name of your nonprofit?
Oh, it's not a nonprofit yet, but I'm thinking about Digital Marketing Academy, something like that. But my business is Social Marketing by Amanda. Yeah. I'm doing my paperwork now for the nonprofit, so I'm really excited about that. And you mentioned about we were talking about being in person, and one of the things about doing these digital workshops in communities. My goal is to go into underprivileged. I don't like to use that word, but that's what they use when it comes to funding. Communities where all we have is an iPhone or Android phone. And that's how these people, people use Etsy or eBay or, Squarespace or different things like that, or different platforms to market their music or their products. That's all they have. They don't have a laptop. They might not even have, internet. There was, I forget what, there was a neighborhood in Detroit I wanted to do a digital marketing workshop at for artists. And the lady, she said, oh, this is a great idea. She said, but we don't have, the people that come here, they don't have laptops at home. They can't do this, they can't do that. And I was really bummed out. So that helped me to propel my mission. I was like, this should not exist in the United States, and that was in 2019. So I was like, that's a travesty to me. So my goal while I'm here on this earth is to help people of color, my people, and it was a time where I was kind of like, shy about saying that. I was, people would say, oh, you should just market to everybody. You should take everybody as a client. But there's something about when you have a passion behind what you do and your passion is attached to your purpose. And I know that's my purpose, is to help my people along with whoever else wants to learn. But yeah, so that's me.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the cornerstone of my radio network is my independent artists. I always put them first. Call them the WRGR Indie Universe. We have a lot of them, and through Amanda helping me, she helped me grow my audience as well. So she did a great job with that. But yeah, that's why I feel my radio network is pertinent here, especially in Detroit. Because first of all, we don't have a jazz station anymore. I miss JZZ. I listen to that station 24/7. That's all I had on. So this is actually the reason why I started up the WRGR, was because of the absence of WJZZ. But yeah, I'm with Amanda as far as helping out my people, providing a platform for all independent artists. Anything to deal with the jazz culture. Hey, we're in. I'm in.
And I just want to say real quick, before we end today, I do have some tips. Well, some upcoming features that are going to be on some of these social media platforms that I want to share. So before we end, I just want to take a couple of minutes to share with the public, because that's part of, the educational aspect of social media that I want to share with everyone.
We'll go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. All right, let me look at my list. I'll make it quick. So this is dealing with Instagram. There's going to be some amazing features coming up with Instagram by the end of the year into next year. What they're doing with this platform now is it's going to be a competitor pretty much similar to what YouTube is, but more for entrepreneurs. And so, for instance, with some of the lives, you'll be able to do audio only. Right now, when you go on Instagram, you'll see, you and another person. And a lot of times, you don't want to have to be visible. You want to, and that's similar to the Clubhouse feature where there's only audio, where people can just talk and show a profile picture. So I think that'll be tremendous with a lot of people not really able to be visible all the time. So IG shopping, that's going to be even more prevalent on Instagram. They're doing that now, where you can go into your profile and create an IG shopping profile. I've seen a lot of people use this as like a lead magnet, where let's say you put your CDs on there and then you link that to your website and people can find out more about your merchandise or events, or you can sell tickets that way. There's also going to be, they call it photo in photo on Instagram Live. So, now where, for instance, I can see you and then you can maybe see a portrait picture of me. It doesn't have to be a live picture. So I think that's going to be another help on Instagram Live for people. You'll also be able to schedule your lives. This is tremendous because you can schedule up to like 2 months of Instagram Lives. So that way it'll send out notifications to people. Right now on Live, they get a notification as soon as you go live. But if I can get a notification, a day before, a week before, that's going to be huge. Also, you'll be able to save your drafts of messages. So right now, when you go on Instagram, sometimes you'll be typing, you forget, you come back, your message is gone. So you'll be able to save your drafts of messages. And there'll also be a feature called Sell. There'll be like a little button that people can click on, and that'll also lead to your store. Right now, you have to go into the shop, or you see the little shopping bag, but there'll actually be like a sell button on there. And then also, just one more thing, with Facebook, they're really going to be starting to push things like, Facebook Live shopping. It's really taken off overseas. But you know how QVC and HSN, Home Shopping Network, how they do that kind of live thing. So now they're going to start promoting that a lot more on Facebook. So I'd say, artists where you're starting to perform with your music, start getting ready to, promote your products as well too. And I think that'll be huge because, we have the retail season for the holidays starting in October. And I tell artists, start thinking about what you want to sell for the holiday because, capitalize on that October, November, December. So that's all I wanted to add for that and share that with everyone.
Wow, that's good. That's
No,
Yeah,
Instagram got me since the pandemic. I done ordered some things I saw, like the ring light and a few things. I never would order that stuff before, because I'm not like a clickbaity person. I'm very like, okay, this is my priority of where I'm gonna spend these coins. Because as you know, when you become an entrepreneur, you have to be cognizant of that. You can't just be willy-nilly because every 15th and 30th don't mean that, the same check coming.
right.
So, Instagram, definitely. I think that's an incredible place to be able to market and, sell and reach a greater audience.
And I would even say,
you may not know when that money coming, but you know when them bills is coming.
Yeah, right.
I know that's right.
Yeah.
I know that's right.
Yeah, and I would even say, you know, like Ron, you have that WRJR shirt back there, like that could be on an Instagram shop, or even I'm thinking like with Ty with your services, you know,
Yeah, got mugs.
linking that
Yeah, and got
to,
mugs. I'm still working
yeah,
on them.
see mugs, see he's pushing his products already. This is like
And that's
Facebook live
good for
shopping.
this because I use my American Black Journal mug on purpose a lot of times when I'm in
Yeah,
meetings,
see?
if I have a beverage, because that's a way to
Mhm.
promote or advertise as well. And you said something earlier, Amanda, where you said, you know, I wanted to do my own thing. I didn't want to have some, you know, being free to say that you love being Black, you want to support Black people.
Mhm.
You know, it's
Mhm.
almost like it's cliche. Like if you say that, oh, you know, that means you don't like other people. No, I just
Right.
love my people. And I don't feel like we get enough love. And that's a huge part of how I became an entrepreneur, because I wanted to be able to show up authentically as myself in any environment and be respected and celebrated and not just tolerated, right? Not just be a tick mark or, you know, a quota to fill, but really be able
Yeah.
to bring some value and collaborate and work with people who have a similar vision and interest in uplifting and supporting one another. You know, what can
Right.
we give and how do we make money together? We also have to support each other. You know what I'm saying? Doing business with one another and bartering is a part of that too. You know,
Yeah.
exchanging services for,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
for towards one another, but also understanding that everything that if all of our talents and abilities, it took time. Amanda, you didn't become a digital media marketing expert overnight. It took an investment of your time. And so you deserve to be compensated for that time, the time it takes to
Right.
compose the music and the all of the listening that you did and learning those instruments. You deserve to be compensated for that. And people shouldn't just try to just take it for nothing. And so I love this idea of the virtual tip jars and being able to compensate folks who are taking the time to bring, you know, these types of environments. And there is a GoFundMe tab on the City of Arts page. And so if you're watching this and you're enjoying it, you need to support the City of Arts. A lot of time and energy went into this, and you know, Sheila has pulled together some incredible resources and folks with history in the industry. And so please go to the City of Arts page and support this mission and vision to be able to bring these awesome folks together.
Yeah, I also want to say now, you know, I think we have about 20 minutes, and we have some guests on here. Much gratitude. I don't know who that is, but Leslie and Phil and Pam, you can join in on the conversation at any time. You can either, you know, raise your hand down at the bottom. It'll say reactions, and you can raise your hand or just jump in like us. It's a small group of us. Jump in with your comments or questions and such. And that being said, I've always loved event planning, always. And that was one of the reasons when I would see Njia, I would go over to her and I'd, you know, say something and maybe ask a few questions and things like that. But I admired how she was handling things. The thing was, and Phil, he would say, well, why don't you just do that? And I said, because I don't want to deal with Bridezilla. I don't want to deal with all those other things. I just want to do it because I have a lot of ideas. And it takes the event planning to make it happen. I think everything is an event. You wake up in the morning until you go to bed, what's the event going to be like, you know? But I had my own ideas, and so that was what I wanted to do. And then along with that, I feel like there's two things for you to do, that there's an assignment on earth. And it might not be your passion. It might be what you are excellent at doing. And then there is the passion. And I remember distinctly asking God, why do you have me doing this hair? I said, I never wanted to slave and labor behind somebody's head. You know, I like production. And just as clearly as I'm talking to you, the Spirit said, it is the key to everything you want to do. And with that, I just surrendered to it. And so yeah, we run a school, and because I always like to teach as well. That's why we're doing this. It's another way of teaching, right? and sharing. And so when you find what your passion is, and not only what that is, but how is it expressed? I guess that's the word. How is it expressed, what you want to do? And who is it expressed to particularly? And so now that's what I'm doing. I call this my retirement. Now I get to do what I really want to do. I'm not doing here. I think I got about 3 more clients, and they know that I am waiting on a particular day when all of that stops. Yet I still will open a school for natural hair. That's still what I wanted to do. I didn't want to stand behind people's head and do it. So those are what your passion is and what your assignment. It might be the same, and in some way it should, in whatever you're passionate about, should be involved with whatever your assignment is. So I was able to do hair shows, and I was able to do, be in magazines, but I didn't have to sell my body in order to do it. If I wanted to sing, if you didn't show up to do the gig, I could do the gig, but yeah, you go ahead and do it. So, knowing, finding out who you are and how you want to be remembered, or what will people know you as you leave while you're here, and then as you leave, what are you leaving here on earth to represent and make the world better? So yeah, so I just appreciate you guys jumping in here and sharing your life. I found out that Tylene shared some other things that I said, she's the president of what?
The National Association of Black Women in Construction.
Yeah.
So, yep. I mean, that was a part of my major exodus of corporate America. I got around these sisters that were enterprising, profitable, successful, and not only, building up our communities, but also advocating to make sure that our youth and people in our communities are getting exposed to, careers in which they can get livable wages and real skills. And, I think it all ties back to our ancestry. And I just think that even though this pandemic has been a challenging time, but it's been a time of change and an opportunity to shift and kind of pause all that outside noise and really get back to who we are. And really, now we're a little bit more aware of the importance of relationships and human interaction. We kind of took it for granted. And so sometimes you need something to come in and disturb what's happening. And I think as a people, we've always found a way out of no way, just like we can't get together. Okay, we're going to figure out how to do this online. You don't want to let us in your club, we're going to open up our own club, And so I just think that we are so resilient in that way. And we have to continue to have platforms like this, Sheila. And I can't tell you how appreciative I am that you've entrusted me to be a part of this, and just to have connected and learned so much over this short period of time, because this is a part of how we get back to who we are, and we get back to celebrating who we are authentically, and not trying to fit into some mold that we've been told what is success or what is beauty or what sounds good or what we should be doing, but really allow our roots to guide us and to the excellence that we truly are.
Yeah, and then I want to on the topics that we're supposed to talk about and have been, the clubs and the venues. I would love to see the entertainers and the venues, those who run those things, to come together and have a conversation. Because the clubs are looking for certain things, the venues are looking for certain things, and the musicians and the entertainers are looking for certain things. And they very seldom do they come together, like how they market themselves. And that is just as important for the clubs or the venues to promote as it is the entertainers. The entertainers feel like they should come in and it should be a full house. Did you tell anybody? Did you, how are you promoting yourself and marketing yourself so that people will know where you are? So I think that, and then like one of the, my examples is Dirty Dog. And when I have gone there, they have a room for the entertainers. They feed them before they perform, or in the middle is something, but they feed them. They treat them like, I mean, just great. And then you have some others, and I'm not going to name them, where it is not like that at all. You may or may not get your money on time or at all. The treatment of them, you just out there. And they knew that they were creating a building for entertainers and didn't include their well-being in the midst of that. And then you have the entertainers that come in there, and if they do give you a drink, or say, you can have drinks, then they get 5 drinks and not be sensitive to the blessing that's being offered them. So it's like, how do we come together and make everybody happy? Everybody, make it work for everybody. And I think that's a very important process. It takes all of us. I have the synergy of what it takes to have something successful and how it can be done in a community in the City of Arts. That's why I call it the City of Arts, because it's all of us working together. I could not have done this without Amanda and Giselle and with Tylene. I could not have done this. And that's when this time I said, okay, I'm stepping out. I'm going to have to find out. And then I did start a little bit earlier. And then even Matty Lee is really my example, because he said, it takes a lot for him to get interested in what you're doing, and he just watches and watches. And now he's like, you know what, we're going to get way ahead of this next year. Everybody has created this next year. So I guess we're going to do this
next year.
But I also know that there's, like I have an event planning school, and what we're doing is walking through that so that I know, I've shown this to Giselle that we need to teach, because when especially India, how many people it takes to do a big event and to do it well and to be able to service hundreds and thousands of people. And so if there's some training in that and job placement in that, then all of my ideas can be happening at the same time, and I don't have to do it all. So it's just about how do we come together as a community, as a world, and make it work, where whatever you specialize in, you specialize in, you specialize. And the next one, it doesn't have to be the same people, because now we've made new contacts and stuff. So I was thinking about 1 year. No, this is a platform. This conversation does not be where, okay, we done said what we have to say. Now it's over. And now we go back to what we were doing. And we go back to the same struggle or victory. But that it's a life. Every week we should be talking about how we make the industry better. It should be something that every week we can tap into different people. It doesn't have to be me, somebody else does it, but to create it where it's part of our life, that we are actually creating a movement, shall I say, of making it work and bringing in different ideas and different questions and different needs that we can hear, and then bringing in another person. Well, okay, like I said, this audience is for this age. Basically we're talking 35 and up, 30 and up. But, my niece, Jay Fears, and I love her because she is so relevant. She is keeping herself out there all the time. She's putting something out. So that age, but they have a different language. They have different needs. They have different things that they need to talk about. So there it is right then. I said, okay, but I can't. I got to wait till we get through this one. And then we can create successions of them. We deal with dancing, the arts, all of that, which are different audiences. But I mean, look who we have here and more people that we know that we can do that. It doesn't have to be a year. And like when Tylene said it, I said, oh, no, we can do that. The big thing once a year, but we can do small things to keep the conversation and the manifestation of it going on. Leslie, is over the
Demamia.
Imamia. And I have watched the struggle of making that happen, and some cooperation and some no cooperation. Some just join like me and not do anything. And so how do we make what her vision is, make it a reality? Because it's passing the hat in order to bury people. No, we should have money there to take care of that. And, if we don't have all the ideas, but other people can bring forth the ideas so that we can make these things happen. And it's not a struggle, it's a joy. I would really like to see entertainers check in and say, what's my assignment today? Where you're on the corner of so-and-so, you and your trio, and you're getting paid for it. Beauty, art, all over this world. I mean, just reaping with art all over the world. And so that's the vision for City of Arts, that we all are autonomous in what we do, but there's a city like Detroit. There's all different things that runs a city.
Mhm.
And it's all in there, and we can all work together with that. So yeah, let me see what time we got here.
Ever thought about,
We have about 10 more minutes.
okay, I got a question. You ever thought about podcasting? Have you done podcasting?
I have, people tell me about podcasting all the time. I am not one that wants to sit at a certain time, and I know you can pre-do all that stuff too. And
She's doing it right now.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But you're doing it right now, right?
Exactly. But then when I'm finished, there's not another date for me to have
Mhm.
on. And I would have somebody else. See, I'm like an apostle. I go and I set up, and then I put people in those positions, and then I'm gone to do something else and open up something else, and then make sure that it's all running. Because if I'm trying to do everything, I can only do so much. I'm more involved in the event planning than in the doing of it. But if you don't show up, I can step in and get it done. That's what I'm saying. So, yeah.
Sheila and I have
I would
worked
like to actually
together.
plan some events on my radio network, And,
All right. Now, see, I like that because I like you.
Yeah, okay. And, and provide a platform, especially locally.
Yeah.
It's gotta go on. Because I know me and Amanda were one time we were doing coffee houses.
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
Just starting off. So, my audience is wide. We have over 46 million, that's the range. My network is syndicated, and we're a chart reporting station, which means independent artists that are featured on the network, they get royalties, so it's like I charge a fee for that, but you're getting your royalties, because we report every month. So yeah, like I said, this is a new thing for me.
Of you guys. I'll work with the two of you guys, and maybe me and Philip will do something, maybe just call the City of Arts, and then that way we can have any and everything coming in.
That's a good idea.
Right. Well,
yeah, say something.
But if this plan, I'm gonna get in touch with you. I'm sorry to cut you off, sweetie. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
I think Giselle had a comment a little
Right,
while
right.
ago.
I was going to say, I've worked around the city doing a lot of things, and Njia hurt my feelings. I called her and asked her if I could come and intern with her, and she said, no, you don't have to intern. You know what to do. I'll just hire you. But see, I have to change my mindset about what I do, because a lot of it, I do it just because I know it needs to be done. And I know I need to monetize a lot of the things, because people would call me to help facilitate a celebrity's funeral, because I know all the musicians and the people that would come, and they have you work in a funeral, and somebody would say, oh, when I die, I want you to take care of my funeral. Well, I need to monetize that, but how do you do that? I've worked the jazz festivals, Detroit Bring It. We did get paid for Detroit Bring It, and for the Detroit A Go-Go, where they brought 400 people from London here to Detroit for Motown concerts. And that was great having to deal with that. I like doing projects when it's over, take a break, and then find something else to do, because I had a successful career and I've been retired 21 years. So I just do what I want to do when I get ready to do it. So I'm working with Sheila, working with Leslie, with Demamia, which is Detroit Area Musicians and Entertainers Association. I wanted to join Local 5, that's the musicians local, because I wanted to work with the musicians, but they won't let me join because I'm not a musician. But when they call me, they'll call me to say, can you find this person? But you won't let me be a part of the organization, but you want to use what I know. But I would love to come down and do things with Njia, because her programs were always so great. And the things that she would do, she would be so calm. Whenever things were going, she would be so calm. And you say, wow, look at her. And, you know, and sometimes I would have to step back into that police role and tell entertainers, look, you go over here, and that's where you need to stay until I call for you. Because a lot of times when you're doing a big event with entertainers, they get caught up in what the hoopla is around them, and they forget what they're supposed to do. You know, because I hate it when you have an event and somebody's scheduled to go on and they out in the audience talking to their boys, you know, and it's like, I need you to stay over here until it's time. But those things need to be taught to the entertainers. No one ever told them that you don't run all over the facility, that if when you're on, you need to stay in that mindset that puts you on stage to keep you centered in what you're supposed to do. Find that in even some of the older entertainers forget that. And when it's time for them to go on stage, they're flustered. And then somebody said, well, gee, you need to go over there and calm them down. Why do I need to calm? You know, well, I go do it because that's part of what you have to do. But then you're thinking, no one told them not to be running all over the place. When it's time for you to perform, you need to be here. And I know we're talking about facilities and venues and things. One of my pet peeves is seeing entertainers go on stage, even if it's at a local bar, with your cell phone and your keys hanging off your waist. That is not professional. That's not a good look. So you find yourself trying to teach them, saying, okay, take your keys off, take your phone off, put it in your bag, because you don't want to be on stage with that and your phone rings.
Right.
Then what?
I think you just created a, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's that stage presence that we talked about, I believe, on Monday. You know, and professionalism, and you know, sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and that's why it's important to have these spaces that you created.
We were produced at the expo, Performers Expo every year at the Wayne County Community College Downriver campus every February or March for about 5 or 6 years in a row. And we would have professional development sessions included in those presentations. So it was showcases so that artists could come and do, you know, 3 to 7 minute showcases. So before presenters who represented festivals, venues, and such opportunities. And then we would have those two, because what we know in Detroit right now is that we do not have what the infrastructure that used to be here when Motown was here. When Motown was here, there was an infrastructure for professional development. And because so many people were trying to get into Motown, that those things were being replicated all throughout the community. And that kind of fell down. And so we do see the need for those things. Luckily, Wayne County Community College helped us underwrite that. and we were able to do it. So I'm just throwing it out there that I think Amanda was getting ready to say that sounds like a business opportunity, and it certainly is. A lot of our artists in the local area need professional development, and not only talent wise, but also how to be a professional artist and how to run that business. I think that's really true. But I just wanted to say quickly that I really appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the whole purpose and result of the City of Arts virtual music symposium, and all those who are involved. I certainly, Ron, that's right. I applaud everybody and look forward to supporting you as you move forward. And Giselle, like I said, no, you can't come intern with me, but you can come work with me anytime.
We have, I think, about 3 minutes or 2 minutes left. So if we, Njia has already had her share, her speech or her comments. Amanda, you want to make a few comments before we close out?
I was just going to tell Giselle that I think that's a virtual program that you could start in June for Black Business Month. I mean, it's right around the corner. 1 hour professional development where you talk to them, give them tips, and they pay you first. So if you have any issues with monetizing services, I can definitely help you. Just message me. I have no problem with. Yeah,
Awesome.
definitely. So, but I just want to thank everyone on this panel. You all are amazing. I hope to connect with you more offsite. And also to all the people enjoying this and hopefully watching the replay, please donate to City of Arts. Please go to their website at cityofarts.com. Register, sign up, donate to the GoFundMe because we need more programs like this. And Sheila, just thank you for reaching out to me, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this amazing event. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Ty?
He said it best. I can't, I have to just double down on what she said. I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this. I've enjoyed everything that I've heard so far. I encourage you all to visit cityofarts.com and definitely support and take a look at everything that you may not have even seen that's happened up until today, and go back and listen to the replay on the Facebook page. It's available on YouTube. Connect with the artists. Make sure you stay around for the jam session that happens between 9 and 10, because that's awesome as well. And it's been a pleasure connecting with you, Miss Njia. I'm looking forward to, connecting with you outside of here. Mr. Ron, just totally honored and privileged to be amongst such awesome people. And Amanda, it's just been great getting to know you as well. And just the contributions that you've made to the team have been outstanding. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful day. Come support the site, City of Arts with a Z, cityofarts.com. And for entrepreneurs out there, my slogan is: the sky isn't the limit because the universe is infinite. Think big, dream bigger.
Awesome. Awesome. Tonight, oh my goodness, are the drummers. That should be pretty wild, We have RJ Spangler and Ron Otis. We have Skeeto Valdez. My goodness, Sean Dobbins. And I just played with him this past weekend for last Friday at Baker's. It's the first time me actually meeting him. He's awesome. And then Galen. Oh my goodness.
That's my girl.
Larry Patangelo on percussions and Ron Pangborn. So it's going to be hot tonight.
Yeah.
And then, I just want to really push that Friday night, 9 to 10. My husband and I will be featured with our new music. So, make sure you tune in at that time. I love you.
Blushing the other day listening to one of your songs on YouTube. It was really nice.
I love it. We just kissing.
Just a lot of hugging and kissing. And my husband wasn't home, so I was just here blushing.
So yeah, you can if you go to I love you so much. You do have to put my name, Sheila and Phil, and then it will come up. You'll see our mugs before Friday, but I just love you all. I thank you. It couldn't have been better. It couldn't have been worse. It was perfect. The word perfect. And Look forward to doing a whole lot more because this is just.
Sheila?
beginning. Yes, Leslie.
I'm sorry. I just want to interject and note that I'll be on tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
Leslie?
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Want
Yeah,
all of you guys to come back to the show.
yeah. Tomorrow afternoon, sources of money, health and wellness, recreating yourself during these tough times. So, yeah, we got some good people coming on to help us through the rest of our lives. Right? Peace, love,
Okay,
and happiness.
right.
Blessings, everyone. Blessings.
Prosperity.
Thank you.
Hugs and kisses to you all. See you later.